5 Toronto restaurants are vying for my $1 million review.
It's delicious, but at the same time, I want to be sick. It's so good to see fried chicken on a plate. I normally get it delivered in a bucket.
Fancy or not, they're all contenders.
This is a beautiful little work of art. Is that a cricket?
Let me speak with the chef.
Just don't throw up yet.
I have a thing about crickets.
Which one will get it?
This looks like somebody's already eaten this.
And when did Toronto turn into such an insane place?
That's the strangest trip for a hot dog I've ever had.
Where's Giles?
I'm here.
Welcome to Crazy Town.
I'm Giles Coren. As restaurant critic for the London Times, I've become the most powerful critic in Europe. Restaurant owners fear me because a bad review from me could shut them down. But a good one could bump up their profits by $1 million. With my researcher, Julia, I'm in North America looking for restaurants worthy of my review, which could change their business and lives forever. This week, I'm in Toronto, a city I know very little about, except that it's one of North America's biggest and busiest. I know it's a lot colder than I'd like it to be, and I know it's got a very notorious mayor.
But I don't really care about the politics or the climate. All I care about is the food.
And since Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities on the planet, you can get almost every type of food imaginable.
But I'm not easily impressed.
So what exactly am I looking for? Most boring, pompous food critics will tell you that there are 3 things that matter: food, atmosphere, and service. But my readers deserve much more than that. I'm looking for an exceptional eating experience, and I don't care if it's the most expensive restaurant in town or a hole in the wall serving up one incredible dish.
But I can't eat everywhere.
So my researcher, Julia, has narrowed down the city's food scene to 5 restaurants that are doing amazing things. Then I decide which one deserves my $1 million review. I can't wait to eat my way across the city. But when I meet Julia to find out where I'm going first, I start to worry. It's not a comforting sign that the first Toronto food my researcher gives me is a hot dog.
I just thought you should taste it. This is a big thing. Torontonians always have hot dogs late at night, especially.
It's nice. I mean, that's okay. It won't kill me, but that is not what I've come here for. That's not why I've flown halfway around the world.
There's lots of culture in the city. There's lots of ethnic options. There's over 7,000 restaurants.
Where are you going to take me? Where are we going?
I have 5 amazing places lined up for you. Tonight, you're going to Opus,
which is in Yorkville, Toronto's poshest neighborhood. Yorkville's home to 5-star hotels, designer boutiques, and high-end restaurants like Opus. It's owned by 2 brothers, Tony and Mario Amaro. In the 90s, Opus was the place to go for high rollers with deep pockets. It's old school, it's white tablecloth, and the wine cellar has 50,000 bottles. Some of them sell for $45 grand. But Opus just isn't as busy these days. High roller customers are much harder to come by.
The recession has affected us, but that's life. Our staff are like family, and if times aren't as good, we're not the type of people that would let people go.
But Tony and Mario don't want to change their old school ways, even if it means losing potential business.
We're very proud people. We don't want to be trendy. We don't want to be casual. We want to be who we are. A positive review from Giles would bring in a lot of new clients, and that'd be pretty awesome.
Opus needs your review to get them back on the map.
I need a table for 1.
Of course. Let me take your coat, sir.
First impressions? This place feels old school.
Welcome to Opus.
Thank you. Decent table?
Very nice, sir.
I don't have to ask to move.
And sure enough, I get the traditional fancy restaurant treatment.
Good evening. Oh, hello.
In 30 seconds flat, a napkin is in my lap, my menu is in front of me, and my drink is ordered. Then, in classic old school style, the servers disappear as quickly as they arrived.
It's looking like it's straight out of the late 90s. It's exactly the kind of place when I was young that I think my parents used to go. So there's at least 3,000 wines here. They expect you to know that $1,295 for a Penfolds Grange 1988 is the thing you want with your tenderloin. I know a bit about wine, but I find this quite terrifying. It's quite a big menu, which is quite old-fashioned. The prices look quite high. The caviar doesn't have a price attached. I see truffles, caviar, lobster. This is rich people's food.
We have some oysters. They're from Nova Scotia, outstanding oysters. Striped bass. This is from Boston. Our foie gras is outstanding.
And I'm a sucker for a ceviche, I must say. The lobster is
The lobster's outstanding.
You seem to find outstanding in a lot of places, though. You're obviously a very optimistic man.
In the end, I go with the lobster ceviche, the truffle-scented pierogi, and the fried and roasted chicken.
The wine,
Yeah, I think I'll have all of them.
Much as I'd like to drink all the wines, I show admirable restraint and stick to a glass of Chablis to go with my starters.
I'm never certain about that performance when they smell the cork, because corks only ever smell of cork. The thing you want to smell is the wine. It's a thing that old guys do. It's not very modern.
Moments after that bit of old-school cork sniffing, my lobster arrived, looking very 1995. I'm starting to worry that Opus is even more behind the times than I thought. I really hope this lobster's taste is fresher than its slightly dated presentation.
It's a very, very fresh lobster. It's really, really good. It feels like it was alive an hour ago, and I'm sure it was.
Suddenly, my concerns about old-school presentation aren't quite as pressing. This lobster dish is, as my waiter would say, outstanding.
10 out of 10.
Your pierogi?
Look at that little Christmas tree. Isn't that a beautiful, pretty thing? That kind of emphasis on presentation is, again, you know, out of fashion these days. This tastes like just good old-fashioned soul food. So the truffle gives it a really luxurious, old-fashioned feeling. These little shavings of truffle, they're probably kind of 50 cents or $1 each. Very, very nice.
So far, the food and service at Opus has been excellent. That said, if they're going to get my review, I want to see what happens when I try to pick a red wine straight from the cellar, without even looking at the prices.
This is one of the 5 cellars.
This is one of 5.
Yes.
Surrounded by a collection of wine this big, I'm like a child in a really, really expensive sweet shop.
Oh, there's some big babies here. So that's enough to get a football team drunk.
So the true test is, will Tony step in and prevent me from picking out a bottle of wine I can't afford?
Oh, it's one of my favourites.
In true old-school style, Tony doesn't once bring up the subject of price. If I've chosen the wrong bottle, I could be getting a nasty 5-figure surprise at the end of my meal.
When he's uncorking it now, I hope he doesn't mess it up. If he breaks the cork, he's got to crack out another one. That's on him.
Cork seems good, sir.
Yep, smells like a cork. Lovely and clear. Very light, a little bit of brown. It's delicious. Thank you very much.
The trick now is to savour this moment. There's a potentially devastating bill heading my way, but until it arrives, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of my dinner. Never think about the prices while you're eating. You'll ruin a good meal.
Aha.
Your roast hen and fried chicken?
It's so good to see fried chicken on a plate. I normally get it delivered in a bucket. This is exciting and good. That's quite modern. You've got a big piece of protein, and then you have the fresh, young, meaty side, and you've got the older, bosky, more complex side. Crispy skin. Sea salt ground, very, very fine, rubbed into the skin, so when it gets hot, the salt absorbs all the fat, sucks it out of the skin. Well, so far, this is an absolutely outstanding meal. The thing is, food this good does not come cheap, so I'm a little bit worried just how big is the check going to be.
I'm in the ever-so-posh Toronto neighbourhood of Yorkville, dining at one of its most expensive restaurants, Opus.
That looks amazing.
And the food has been great. But as I chose my wine without looking at the price list, I'm in danger of losing a mountain of money. My $1 million review isn't supposed to cost me $1 million. There's good news and slightly less good news.
Yes, as I suspected.
Thankfully, the wine I ordered doesn't cost thousands of dollars, but it still isn't cheap.
Fine. That's just $494.94. But half of it is this little baby. I should tip because the service has been good. I'll just sell my suit, and I'll be able to afford it.
I think Giles had a good time. It didn't seem like anything went wrong. I think everything was smooth, but you never know in this business.
Well, yes. I mean, it is a little bit old school, but that's one of the best meals I've had in a very long time. It's a fantastic wine list. It's a definite contender. But $600 for a meal, is that too much?
After the first restaurant of 5, the bar for Toronto is already set very high. But will Julia's next choice be able to compete for my $1 million review?
Okay, good. So where are we going?
We are going to King Place.
And what kind of a restaurant is this?
It's Indian, Pakistani. It's
good
more-
Indian Pakistani?
It's really affordable. You can eat
Yeah,
quite a
I hate
bit.
affordable. I'd quite like stuff that's unaffordable.
Okay, I'm asking you to trust me.
Do Indians and Pakistanis go there? Because I know you haven't know
mostly
anything.
locals, mostly cab drivers.
Oh,
all
if
the
cab
time.
drivers eat it, it's bound to be fine.
Well, they need to eat, don't
Notoriously fussy.
they? The owner, his name is Mr. Butt.
His real name, he's really called Mr. Butt.
His name is a little bit hard to pronounce.
Really?
He's from Pakistan.
Despite the fact that King Place is in Moss Park, which is kind of a rough downtown neighborhood, people travel to this hidden gem for its authentic taste of Pakistan. He only opened in 2012, but already had a loyal following thanks to his old restaurant, which he broke away from to find financial independence.
I'm very tired for the partnership. I say better to I open my own place.
But it's a bit confusing because his new restaurant, King Place, and his old restaurant, King Palace, are so similar in name and decor. But the food is different.
Yeah, my food is better actually. I now have more variety here, so people like it.
Mr. Butt needs your review to prove to his customers that King Place is the real king of Pakistani food. He wants to build a franchise and bring his family over from Pakistan.
This is my dream actually. I need a more business, more money, more customer. I need a help actually.
Now, I've never been to this town before, but to me, this doesn't look like Toronto's chicest neighborhood.
Well, this place comes very highly recommended from Julia. I've got to assume that's more about the food than the location.
It certainly is a long way from the luxury of Opus.
Hey, Mr. Butt.
Hi, who are you?
Hi, nice to meet you. Indian and Pakistani food is the most popular restaurant cuisine in Britain. But unlike most Brits, I've actually been to the Indian subcontinent.
So my chicken tikka spicy is very good.
Chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, and they have a chili chicken also very good, the boneless.
So this is like a jalfrezi.
Jalfrezi chili is the same actually, yeah.
What about achari chicken?
Try some Kashmiri chicken.
I'd rather have the achari.
Yeah, give me chari too.
If there's one thing I hate, it's people insisting I take more food than I actually want. Don't force feed your customers. It's rude and it cheapens your food.
What else?
I'd like some palak paneer.
Yeah, sure. You like some beef too?
Yeah, why not have some beef?
Yeah, sure.
Suddenly, my massive plate of food disappears. Oh, good. A bank of microwave ovens, just what I like to see. I'm beginning to wonder why Julia sent me here. I'm all for cheap and cheerful, but this reheated meal can't possibly compare to the freshly cooked food I just had at Opus. I've got to quickly come up with a creative way to judge Mr. Butt's cooking.
OK, so what I've done while I'm waiting for my food to come is I've given Julia a ring, who was not too far away from King's Palace, and she's going to go and order the same dishes that I've ordered here. She's going to get the achari chicken, she's going to get the chicken tikka masala, the sag paneer, bring them down here, I'll compare them, and I'll see whether Mr. Butt has improved on the original model or got it worse.
Yeah?
My food arrived. And just as I suspected, the 5 dishes have sort of melted together. So I'm relying on Mr. Butt to clue me in.
Can you remember what these things all are?
Yeah, and this chari chicken.
Palak paneer.
And that one Kashmiri chicken. This one the beef chili boneless.
This is the beef chili.
No, this one beef chili. This one chicken tikka masala.
Okay.
That one. Okay, enjoy your food.
Great,
Thank you.
some useful water, which I may need. So the thing with Indian food, Pakistani food, it's a domestic cuisine. They don't have a big restaurant culture, and this kind of food is designed to be cooked at home, grinding the spices and cooking delicious, perfect on-the-spot food. Now, this has all been reheated during the day. This is catered for local workers in their lunch breaks. And in the end, there's a limit to how subtle they can be. Chicken tikka masala. Very spicy. Yeah. Chili beef is okay. And then we've got achari chicken. Now, I'm interested in this because I've got an achari chicken coming from King's Palace, if Julia shows up.
Having tasted all the dishes on my plate, all I can say is it's not as good as the homemade meals I ate in the backwaters of Kerala. But it's a damn sight better than most of the curries I accidentally, drunkenly ate as a student.
Ah, about time.
All right. I think I have everything here. All right. Do you need anything else? Are you good?
Why, you got stuff to do?
Okay,
Because
so
it
if
looks
you-
like your kind of place. Your hairdresser's around here somewhere.
You're sweet. If there's anything else you need, call me. Otherwise, don't call me.
Okay,
Okay, bye.
well, drive carefully and
All right.
keep the windows wound
All right,
up and
right,
keep
right.
those doors locked and don't talk to any strange men. Whoa, I don't think I ordered the open sewage. Someone's put a goblin in a blender. I think that's the achari chicken. This is the chicken tikka. This is something else. It's time for the taste test. It's Mr. Butt's King Place versus Mr. Butt's former King Palace. But which
is better. This week, I'm in Toronto, looking for one restaurant to give my $1 million review. I'm putting 2 Indian restaurants to the test by tasting food from both. On this plate are dishes belonging to King Place, whose owner, Mr. Butt, is vying for my review. In these tubs is food from Mr. Butt's former business, King Palace. If Mr. Butt's food hasn't improved on his former business, he'll simply never get my review. This looks like somebody's already eaten this. Tastes like the dredgings from the bottom of an urban pond. Here, Mr. Butt's saag paneer, palak paneer, both words for spinach. Here you can see quite nice dark green. It still looks like a vegetable. Chicken tikka masala. This is the most popular dish in the United Kingdom, where I come from. We eat a lot of this. But the original is just not as good. I think I better let him know what we're doing, because he looks very worried. Mr. Butt, can I just, So I've been tasting the stuff from King's Palace and I've been tasting King's Place to see which one is the best. Normally, I wouldn't tell a restaurant owner directly what I feel about my meal. Well, I think yours is probably the best.
Thank you.
I don't mind telling him he's won my little taste test because I've just decided. Mr. Butt won't be getting my $1 million review. So look, King Place is great. It's better than King Palace, and Mr. Butt is the undisputed king of the cheap lunchtime curry. But I've come here looking for fresh food cooked to order that really zings off the plate. This stuff's been sitting around all day. This is catering. This isn't cooking. This isn't going to get a review. And it's got me wondering, what the hell was my researcher thinking?
So, I take it you didn't love King Place?
That was barely a restaurant.
So, you only want to go to fancy restaurants?
No, it's not about fancy. It's just about good. If you send me to a restaurant again like that, you're fired and I'm going home. If that's the best you can come up with for ethnic food in Toronto, then it's in a city in an awful lot of trouble.
Okay.
And on that note, what hellhole are you sending me to next?
You're going to Small Town Food Co.
It's in Toronto's West End in the village of Parkdale. It's a multicultural neighborhood, and although it's home to many a hipster, it's been gentrifying slowly. Cameron Hutton and Stephen McKee took a massive financial risk to launch their labor of love.
We have everything riding on this restaurant.
We drained credit cards, bank accounts, everything we had is literally in here.
Not only that, they've opened in a neighborhood swarming with young hipster restaurants that specialize in simple, fun bar food like tacos and barbecue.
There's a lot of competition on the neighborhood. It's tough, really tough.
Cameron and Steve are betting that the local crowd is looking for a more challenging menu. But they've only been open 2 months, so it might be too early to tell if that's working.
Every day we open, we're staring at the door, checking the book, checking the voicemails, making sure that, hey, are we going to be busy tonight?
Waiting for people, waiting.
Yeah, you never really know.
These boys really need your review to let people know that while their food may be more sophisticated than tacos or barbecue, it's no less delicious.
A review from Giles would be great because it would really put us into that upper echelon of restaurants that we strive to be, and that would really help us.
When I arrive, I'm immediately struck by the cool space. It's full of beards, tattoos, plaid shirts, and jaunty hats as far as the eye can see. I'm officially in a hipster restaurant. But I don't give a toss about all that stuff. All I care about is whether they can cook. I eat a meal with a local in every city I visit, and tonight I'll be dining with investigative author Robin Doolittle. She wrote the story about Toronto Mayor Rob Ford's crack habit and just published her first book all about it.
Welcome to Crazy Town.
I just didn't even know that Toronto was a crazy town.
Have you heard of our mayor, Rob Ford? The crack cocaine scandal. You must have heard about that.
As we natter on about the drug habits of Toronto's political elite, I keep one eye on the menu. It's loaded with dishes like alligator, deer tartare, and kangaroo meatballs.
Wow.
For an international critic like me, it's a tantalizing spread, and I order a meat lover's feast.
I'll have the kangaroo and the deer tartare.
Nice.
And also one of the most mismatched dishes I've ever heard of.
Charred mackerel served with a baked bone marrow.
Baked bone marrow?
Yeah, that's right.
That goes with the mackerel?
Yeah.
Bone marrow and mackerel is a combination that will either be genius or disgusting. I have to find out.
There's not a ton of vegetarian options for me on the menu. So there's always
So you're a
there's something-
vegetarian?
Sorry, did I mention that?
You didn't mention
No,
that.
I didn't. But there's Opus. I see.
Oh, she's a vegetarian. Marvellous. That said, with such a meat-heavy menu, this is a chance to see how the kitchen will accommodate her main course.
Doesn't sound like we're going to be sharing all that much. What are we going to feed you?
The simple task of choosing food has become more challenging.
We have vegetarian requirements.
The chef seems to have forgotten that, irritating as they can be, vegetarians are customers too.
Can you do anything else? Can anything else kind of spin vegetarian?
Let me speak with the chef.
Amazing. Robin has left it entirely up to the chef to decide what she'll be having for dinner.
That's all cool.
Yeah, that's very typical of Toronto. I've truly never been to a place in this city that hasn't put something awesome together for me. And I'm not even overly particular. Like, I'll just eat plain pasta.
Vegetarians are supposed to be self-righteous, uptight and picky about what they put in their mouths, but apparently they're happy to just eat whatever the chef throws in front of them at the last minute. Another reason I'd make a terrible vegetarian.
Do you find meat disgusting? Do you not want me to eat meat in front of you?
No big deal. Just enjoy your sweet, delicious death.
My first sweet, delicious death dish is the kangaroo meatballs.
I love balls served in threes. Because, you know, you would think always that they come in twos, and then...
Two?
Two. Oh, I don't know, maybe Toronto's different.
Robin's first death-free starter is crispy cauliflower.
Can I have a crack? They look good.
Look, if you eat with a critic, then the chances are we'll pinch your food. It's the price you pay for a free meal.
Cauliflower, so it's good for you, right?
Yeah, it's good. I've got genuine bona fide kangaroo here. Where do you stand on kangaroo?
Love to watch them hop. Don't want them on my plate.
Service, please.
Here we are with our raw and cooked salad and the tartare of deer.
With this place being called Small Town Food Company, and with one of the owners wearing a hunting shirt, I wonder, where did this deer meat come from?
Is it just roadkill, or did you, like, pop it?
We get it delivered.
I get the impression from Small Town Robin here that this is not entirely like a small town restaurant would actually be.
No, our idea was to bring like small town hospitality to, you know, big
You
city
mean basically being quite nice?
food. Being nice and unpretentious and casual.
You're from small towns?
Oh, yeah.
So there won't be towns that I've heard of?
No.
I'm from London. Have you heard of London? Little quail egg. But it's very good.
Excellent.
You get to eat all these falafel,
Oh, excellent.
which look like the battered dry testicles of a scarecrow.
Just my kind of testicle.
After our starters, I'm still not convinced these hipsters know what they're doing. So our main course is now dictating whether the boys behind Small Town Food Co. have a chance to win my life-changing review.
Now, that is oily.
Why did I order this? I'm in Toronto, Canada, looking for one restaurant worthy of my $1 million review. Our starters at Small Town Food Co. have been delicious.
Very good.
But I'm not yet convinced the hipsters that run this place can deliver a proper full meal, because the meat-intensive menu means my vegetarian guest Robin has no idea what she'll be eating next.
Let me speak with the chef.
The true test for me will be my crazy bone marrow and mackerel main course.
The mackerel and the marrow and all the bits and pieces you couldn't shift over the weekend that made it onto the Monday menu.
If they can't satisfy us both, Small Town Food Company can't possibly get my $1 million review.
And that's a big piece of bone marrow. I've never seen that, a massive piece of bone marrow from a cow.
Really?
With fish and... Well, I've seen it before, but I've never seen it on a plate of mackerel.
Now that I've filled up on 2 meaty starters, I'm a lot less enthusiastic about my double plate full of oily flesh.
This is really not vegetarian, what I've got. I've got every different kind of
Right,
protein.
no, I'm not going to eat that, but this looks amazing.
Yours does look amazing. I have stuff from all over the animal kingdom.
Yeah,
I'm more in the mood for yours.
yeah. You can have a bite.
Can I? I better do the dirty and have some mackerel. So that's really nicely done. Bone marrow from a cow.
And was it delicious?
It is delicious. I think I would question the virtue of serving it with oily fish.
There's nothing wrong with the mackerel or the bone marrow per se, but altogether there's enough oiliness to wax the axles of an 18-wheeler.
I really like this.
Does it taste very last minute?
No, not at all, actually.
That's a nice crunchy fresh vegetables. They're not taking the piss. They're not laughing at you for being a vegetarian.
What does marrow taste like?
You ever eaten brains?
Grossing out your vegetarian dinner guest is generally considered rude, but it is fun.
I can't eat anymore.
I'm not sure I enjoyed my main course.
No, that is oily.
But Robin's last-minute veggie pasta invention was terrific.
Can I eat more of that?
Please.
Fresh, simple, and delicious. If you ask me, small-town food company needs a few more dishes like that on the menu. But by no means are they out of the running for my review.
Well, thank you very much.
Enjoy Toronto.
Thank you very much. Great to meet you. In a big city, the 4th biggest town in the whole of North America, you need nice guys like that running small restaurants. Fantastic. I really hope they get my review.
After 3 very different meals in Toronto, I'm getting the sense that the restaurants here are varied and vibrant. But this morning, I want to talk to someone about Toronto's street food scene. According to my new friend Robin, a law has just been passed allowing food trucks in many more parts of the city. So I got Julia to set up an interview with one of the politicians who voted for the new law. This guy loves his food trucks, and he just happens to be Toronto's notorious mayor, Rob Ford.
Mr. Ford,
Giles.
how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. There's a lot of reporters out there. I think they heard that I'm here. I'm here to see your food town.
We have the best food town in the world.
You're the mayor, of course you say that.
No. We have more restaurants per capita than New York City. You'll find every type of food you can imagine. I'm a walking experience. I haven't missed any.
You've had it all already. Have you left anything for me?
Oh, there's lots. Food trucks are big now. We just passed a bylaw yesterday.
You passed it yesterday because I've
yeah,
heard
it's
all
controversial.
About it. Controversial?
Yes.
You don't.
Who, me?
You?
No, never controversy with me.
No. You've managed to deflecting all the attention towards the food trucks. Do you think we could go and get something to eat?
Sure. Well, you can eat. I'll watch you eat. I can't really eat too much.
Having just started a new diet, Mayor Ford isn't interested in snacking between meals, but he does agree to take me to his favourite truck. It doesn't look like the most gourmet place in town, but he's buying, so I really can't refuse.
Yeah, sausage, hot dog, burgers, the beverage.
Are you going to have anything?
No, I'm good, buddy. No.
Well, I'm going to get a Polish sausage, please. So you must miss this kind of food then, if you're...
Oh, buddy, I get cravings for that.
So what you need is salad trucks.
It doesn't take long for the Toronto press pack to catch wind of the mayor's location.
It's like this all the time.
And in a matter of seconds, we're surrounded by the most aggressive press corps I've ever seen.
Why don't you respect the taxpayers who elected you and answer some questions?
Can I give my guest some room, please?
Hey, don't push me. They're pretty good, your security guys.
Move, man, move!
I'm just going to try and stick with Mayor Ford. He's looking after me very well.
Where's Giles?
I'm here.
Giles, come on, buddy. Follow me right up the stairs, okay? Let's go. Move out of my way, please.
You're going to be in shape by the end of this.
Oh, yeah.
That's the strangest trip for a hot dog I've ever had.
You have to work for your lunch around here. Oh, you didn't get to eat your hot dog.
I did, but I only ate the meat. I didn't eat the carbohydrate.
I don't know how you ate through that.
I'm hungry.
Well, that's a hot dog I'll never forget, but I doubt it represents Toronto's new direction in street food, so I'm going to ask Julia to find me a restaurant that does, just as soon as I get through the wild pack of reporters waiting for me outside Ford's office.
Did you ask what drugs he's been smoking?
No, I didn't.
Did you ask him why he's lied to the people of Toronto about his drug use?
No, I didn't get that one in either.
What did you ask him?
I asked him whether I should have mustard or ketchup on the hot dog.
It's time for the 4th Toronto restaurant competing for my $1 million review. To tell me about it, Julia's taken me to a part of the city called Kensington Market.
People do all kinds of shopping here, and there's a million little different places to eat.
Kensington Market is an historic, multicultural neighbourhood known for its colourful produce, meat and food stands.
So the restaurant you're going to next actually started out here in Kensington as a food stall.
It's called Agave y Aguacate, and it's only a few blocks from here. Back when they were just a food stall, their tostada de tingas developed a cult following. People lined up for hours just to get a taste. And for one of the owners, Francisco, that was a huge milestone in his career.
I wanted to be a chef, and my dad said to me, "Why do you want to be a chef? Anybody can chop an onion." And I felt sad because my dad did not understand my passion. And it's one of the main reasons why I left my home.
Agave y Aguacate's new home has been open for less than a year and it's doing really well. But owners Kayvon and Francisco are scared that business may drop if the current trend for Mexican food fades out.
Everything for us is on the line. We need all the help that we can get. Failure is not an option.
Thank you, please.
I'm not an expert on Mexican cuisine, but I'm interested to see if Francisco is still serving street food or if his menu has evolved to restaurant-caliber cooking worthy of my $1 million review.
I'm really a proper fish out of water here. I I have nobody to explain the menu to me, so I'm probably going to need some help, like get the chef out of the kitchen, which I wouldn't normally do.
I usually avoid asking the chef to pick my meal because it doesn't give me a representative experience and it's risky for the chef. The outcome of my review now depends on the dishes he chooses for me.
What is the one dish that you will lay your reputation on? And the reputation of your whole country?
Beef tongue.
Normally, when I have tongue, it isn't that nice. When you put another tongue in your mouth, it always feels like you've bitten your tongue or you've bitten your girlfriend's tongue. So if you can make me take tongue seriously...
I shall do my utmost.
Agave is colourful, cramped, and even though it's busy, the kitchen quickly sends out my first dish. Although it's easy to see why I didn't have to wait long, because the ceviche looks more like a basic guacamole and chips.
This slightly fulfills one of my preconceptions about Mexican food, is that I ordered ceviche, but I did get a bowl of chips, because I sort of have the feeling that you always do. Very, very sharp. Very citrusy taste of lime. Big pieces of fish. Very, very fresh. This could be the most authentic thing in the world, or it could be nothing at all like Mexican food.
Authentic or not, the ceviche is fresh, simple, and extremely tasty. But my next dish, the tostada de tinga, looks a little more ambitious.
Tostada with well-fried beans, pulled chicken and chorizo.
It looks like something you get from a van at a stinky hippie festival. What's a good way to eat this?
I would really recommend eating it with your hands.
I'm an Englishman. I don't eat with my hands.
You just have to go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Throw your table manners out the window when occasion calls for it. Finger food is best eaten with fingers.
Just get in there.
Hunching over my food like this is so uncivilized. I feel like one of those revolting people who eat on public transport.
Incredibly strong flavors. It's much, much, much better than any Mexican food I've had. There's lots of very distinct flavors, and look at the different colors. It's bright, it's got white and dark brown and green and red, and I mean, I've made a bit of a mess of it, but then it's called a tostada de tinga, so it's called a messy tostada. So it does exactly what it says on the menu. That was fantastic. The tostada was absolutely delicious, but Francisco is betting my $1 million review on his beef tongue stew. Now it's his moment of truth.
This could be the $1 million stew, but look at this spongy chunk of tongue. Agave y Aguacate is a gourmet Mexican restaurant in Toronto.
It's much better than any Mexican food I've had.
The first two dishes have been delicious, but more like the street food Francisco is famous for than restaurant food. So whether this place contends for my review all depends on this do-or-die dish, Francisco's beef tongue stew.
If Francisco makes a mess of this, Mexican cuisine is dead. The moment of truth for him is serving me up some tongue, which I do not like, in a way which can convert me to the way that he cooks. Is it going to be delicious, or is it just going to be a nightmare?
Okay, this is the Mexican-style beef tongue stew.
Tongue, very springy. You know, I'll eat a testicle, I'll eat a brain, I'll suck the flesh from the toes of a chicken. You know, but the tongue, it tastes kind of soft and spongy and sweet and pink. It tastes a bit like me. It's delicious, but at the same time, I want to be sick.
Regardless of how I feel about eating tongue, I do have to admit that Agave y Aguacate has successfully made the leap from food stall to real restaurant. Their food is fresher, better, and more exciting than most other Mexican food I've had, and definitely a contender for my $1 million review. It's time for the fifth and final restaurant in Toronto up for my $1 million review.
So, humble assistant, tell me what I have next.
Tonight you're going to the Atlantic. So Nathan, he's the owner and he's the chef. He doesn't have a menu, can't really make reservations, and he serves things that are pretty much at the bottom of the food chain.
If you're talking about animal life at the bottom of the food chain...
I'm talking about insects, like crickets.
I have a thing about crickets.
I know it sounds bizarre.
It's just the wings, and I just imagine you chew it and you're just going to... It's never going to quite go away, or the legs.
I think you'll be surprised. Just don't throw up yet.
The Atlantic's in the west end of Toronto, in the up-and-coming neighborhood known as Dundas West. Nathan Eisberg is the owner and chef, and he's very quirky in a lot of ways, beyond his love of serving crickets. He has very particular ideas and philosophies about running a restaurant, and he opened the Atlantic because he couldn't stand working for anyone else.
I needed to do something on my own that didn't have any strictures around it. The Atlantic is perfect for me because it's a context in which I can play.
Another quirky point, Nathan doesn't allow menus at the Atlantic. Instead, he cooks whatever he feels like serving.
Menus are wasteful. They're a bourgeois affectation that came out of like the late 1800s. I cook based on conversations I have with people. I do it largely for myself, and people seem to respond well to it, so.
And no menus means no prices. He asks his customers to pay what they feel their meal was worth.
So it's barter, pay what you can, IOU, whatever. It's the same as busking. I perform, and people pay what they want.
But this makes his cash flow wildly unpredictable. So Nathan needs your review to help stabilize business and keep the Atlantic afloat.
A review from Giles has a lot of sway. People take him seriously, therefore I will benefit from his attention. For instance, enough people on a regular basis that I can, pay my bills. Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit about what I might get.
I'm going to cook what I like. I'm going to serve you the wine that I like because I like them, not because I think you should have them. So it's a discussion.
I don't want a discussion. I want my dinner.
If I set up an expectation, you might have a perception in your mind of what you're going to have, and it might be different from what I may say something to you now, and I'm like, makes sense, but then throughout the meal, it might change. There's a whole thing I could get into about signs and signifiers and misunderstandings.
Would we be talking about
semiotics?
Yeah.
Never trust a chef smarter than you are. Of course, I very rarely have that problem.
You could be far too intelligent to be a chef.
I like to think that the chefing is a way of thinking, but I'm going to send you out some food.
Fine, I'll eat it.
Excellent.
This guy's extraordinary. Chefs are usually relatively simple fellows. He's obviously very complicated. I'm fascinated to see how that translates into cooking.
I tend to start with a soup. So this is loosely based on harir, which is a Persian soup with a little bit of geranium in it. See what you think.
Yeah. Geranium soup. I can see why he doesn't like working for other people, because if your boss, you told your boss you're going to make a geranium soup, get out the door, he would say. You're not having none of that. It's basically a blended vegetable soup, but it has this aroma of geraniums of summer greenhouses. I don't know if it's nice or not. I think it might be.
The soup is as difficult to fathom as Nathan himself. I'm baffled. The Atlantic is busy, but other than a helper in the kitchen, there's no staff apart from Nathan. On top of being a philosopher, this guy is clearly a total control freak.
He is chef, he is waiter, he is front of house, he's probably security as well.
This is a pretty rustic dish, but it's been on since we started, and it is gnudi, ricotta dumplings covered in ash, which is used as a flavoring, like an herb that you would use to season things with by natives in Canada in particular.
Gnudi. I wish I knew what they were.
Another reason I feel uncomfortable in a no-menu place is that I'd just like to know what I'm eating.
Tell me about the gnudi. Tell me how you do it.
It's just eggs, ricotta, and a little bit of double-O flour.
Double-O flour, so very refined.
Yeah, exactly.
Extraordinary. It's got a good, deep, complex flavour. That had originality. I mean, you've never eaten it before. A long-lasting flavour. I can still taste it now.
After 2 dishes, I have to admit that both Nathan and his food are growing on me. But as my 3rd dish leaves the kitchen, it looks like those crickets Julia mentioned are about to make their first appearance.
So, it's a small risotto. It's a black rice risotto. It's got escargot in it.
And it's got some little friends.
Yeah, there's some crickets in there.
Is that a cricket or is that one a fly?
There is really nothing on earth I want to do less than eat crickets.
This might be the dish that makes it all go wrong.
I've had some surprisingly good food so far at the Evangelical Atlantic in Toronto.
Extraordinary.
But it's now the moment of reckoning. Chef Nathan Eisberg is known for serving crickets, and sure enough, I'm now faced with a tough decision. Do I refuse them and lose all credibility as a critic, or do I eat the disgusting little bastards?
They do take on a flavor of whatever you feed them.
And what do you feed them?
Apples and herbs.
So you think it was a peanut if someone didn't tell you, but if someone didn't tell you, you'd be furious.
Remember, I eat this stuff so that you don't have to.
Very slight fish flavours. Interestingly, Nathan seems to think that it goes well with red wine. I just burped a little taste of cricket. I'm not saying it's a bad flavour. I'm saying I don't know anyone who would eat this apart from me.
And that's precisely what I like about Nathan's pay what you can principle.
Cheers.
Santa, cheers.
Someone who hated the crickets wouldn't have to pay for them. As for me, I've had a terrific experience, and so I pay accordingly.
If you don't like what I do, you don't have to pay. It's no problem. But it's interesting. Nobody's taken me up on that offer yet, so it's fascinating.
It's a viciously clever bit of psychology, actually.
I'll tell you what the best thing is about a restaurant with no bill. There's no waiting for the bill. My least favourite thing at the end of every meal, just waiting. You want to go home, where's the bill? He doesn't bring it, you just pay and go. And I paid him quite a lot of money, and it was worth every penny.
I've now eaten at all 5 Toronto restaurants vying for my review, and the time has come to start writing. I'm meeting Julia at a place called Bar Buka, so I can eat breakfast while I mull over my decision.
You have some food on your shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, the eating is all very well, but I'm going to have to crack down to this review fairly soon.
You have a lot to think about, so what about King Place?
Not King Place.
It was catering, it wasn't cooking. I can't stake my reputation on food like that, and for that reason, King Place isn't getting my review.
In a blind tasting, I think I was just eating 100 mouthfuls of the same thing.
Small Town Food Co. Those guys are really great.
They are great.
It's a fun place, but my bone marrow and mackerel main course was, to be honest, a pairing made in hell.
That's a big piece of bone marrow.
But my guest's food was delicious.
Can I eat more of that?
Please.
So it's definitely a contender.
What about Opus?
Opus, fantastic.
Excellent food.
These are good times to be a restaurant critic. This is the good part.
Incredible wine selection, but was it too old-fashioned and expensive to get my review?
I'll just sell my suit, and I'll be able to afford it. Where else have I been?
Agave y Aguacate.
The tostada de tinga, the messy tostada, that was the best thing, and that was good, but the same way that Mexican food is always good. It was salty, fatty, and spicy.
But the tongue stew was a little disgusting.
It's delicious, but at the same time, I want to be sick.
And what did you think of the Atlantic?
Well, Nathan's charm and philosophy certainly impressed me, but I don't know about those crickets.
I just burped a little taste of cricket.
After talking my options through with Julia, there are 4 restaurants contending for my review. But I can only write about one. And it could change their fortunes to the tune of $1 million of extra business. Who will it be? It's the moment of truth. My review is written, and today it goes live in the Huffington Post. Whose life will it change? Will it be Small Town Food Company? The Atlantic, Agave y Aguacate? Or Opus?
Jason, check this out.
I picked The Atlantic because chef Nathan Eisberg managed to do something very few chefs ever have. He caught me off guard and blew my mind.
Giles' review made me feel really proud and inspired to continue doing what I'm doing because he understood what I want to do, and I can continue doing that with a little bit more conviction and excitement. The great thing about having this review is that there's an exposure that's going to have a huge effect on business. It's going to be a good thing.
The Atlantic was a thundering reminder that even a jaded restaurant critic like me can still be surprised in the best possible way.
Cheers.
The Atlantic well deserves my $1 million review.